Here's some breaking news. Leadership can feel really lonely, but no one ever tells you that. You kind of end up having to figure it out for yourself once you're already there, which isn't great, let's face it. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you about lonely leadership, why it can feel so lonely, what the cost of that is on us, what's the impact of it, and give you the antidote so that you can reverse the effects of lonely leadership. So let's go. So leadership, I would say, can feel as if you're stood on a mountaintop on your own. It can feel quite isolating, you feel quite exposed, and there isn't really anyone to turn to. That's how it can feel. But why is that? Why is leadership quite a lonely place to be? Just think for a moment about any leaders that you know. How do people become leaders? How do they get to leadership positions? And it's usually because they join an organisation, they work super hard, and eventually it pays off and they get promoted into a leadership position. Yay, great. But no one ever tells you that overnight the expectations on you change completely. You are suddenly in charge of people. And that, I argue, is the number one most difficult thing about leadership, is having to manage people. And it doesn't come with a manual. No one says, hey, off you go, here's a book on how to do it, and you go off and become a leader. And the expectations are huge. It's an overnight expectation that suddenly you're this brand new person that knows how to do all of these things. So that's the number one reason it can feel quite exposed and it can feel very isolated while you navigate all of that. The second reason is that overnight you go from being one of the work group to suddenly being their leader. You are expected overnight to be able to coach people, to be able to mentor your teammates, to be able to performance manage people, to be able to be the font of all knowledge and somebody who knows the answers to everything. That is the expectation overnight, which isn't helpful. And it's the second reason why leadership can feel really lonely. It's the burden of those pressures that can make us feel that way. Third reason is the perception of leadership and authority. We all build this image in our heads of what leaders are. Okay, we see role models on TV, heads of state, etc. They're leaders. They're strong. They're authoritative. They know the answers to everything. They're the cleverest person in the room. So we build this almost huge monster of expectation in our heads that we have to be that way. We don't show vulnerability. We don't tend to say, well, I don't know the answer to that. We kind of feel silly. We're expected. And we put all of that pressure on ourselves, which isn't helpful. So that's the third reason why leadership can feel very, very lonely. And what's the cost of lonely leadership on us? It can lead to burnout because you're running around with your hair on fire trying to do everything and be everything to everyone. We don't really take time out for ourselves as leaders and to focus inwards on what it is that we need and what support that we need. The second cost on us is depression. So loneliness, feeling very isolated, not really having anyone to turn to, all of these things can result in depression and just not looking forward to going to work in the morning. No one wants to feel like that, and leaders don't often voice it because, again, it goes back to that feeling of we must be strong and authoritative. So we tend to keep it to ourselves, which kind of burns away at our insides. So it really takes its toll on us. It can also result in poor decision making because we're not feeling psychologically safe, either from our peers or maybe from our senior leaders. And that in itself can lead to poor decision making. Now let's talk about what we can do. What positive things can we do to set ourselves up for success in leadership? Tip number one is to get yourself a mentor. Think of someone in your organisation that you really admire as a leader. Reach out to them and ask if they'll mentor you. You will be surprised. The vast majority of people will always agree to that. People like to be helpful. So use that and get yourself a mentor. These are people that have walked the path that you've already started on. They know what all the pitfalls are. They know how you are feeling and they can help you through that. You don't have to do it on your own. So get yourself a mentor. Tip number two is you need to create yourself a new peer group. peer group of leaders. Surround yourself with other leaders in your organisation. They'll all be at different stages in the leadership journey, but you can all learn from each other. You can bounce ideas off them. You know, if you're struggling with something, maybe it's a people issue, you can speak to the other leaders in confidence and get some advice. So tip number 2, get yourself a peer group. And if there isn't one already there, set it up yourself. Tip number 3 is invest in some professional coaching. Most organisations will quite happily invest in their leaders to undertake some form of training or coaching. Take them up on that. If it's not something that's readily there, then be proactive in it. Seek it out. Seek out a really good coach. We've got coaches from all around the world on Zoom these days. Seek somebody out and get permission from your organisation to get some professional coaching. And put it as part of your development plan. So those are 3 tips, just to recap. Get yourself a mentor. Seek out maybe existing peer groups, and if there aren't any, set your own one up and just get some support around you and bounce ideas off each other. And the 3rd step is to invest in some professional coaching. Try these 3 tips and let me know how you get on. And in conclusion, just remember that leadership, it can feel very, very lonely and isolating, but it really doesn't have to be that way. Set yourself up for success. No one else is going to do it for you. It's up to you. So go ahead, give it a go, and let me know how you get on. And don't forget to like and subscribe for future videos with tips and advice for leaders and team dynamics. Bye for now.